Hello, friends. Welcome back to another episode of Jonah and the Pod. Today we have a very special guest, probably my favorite person to ever live. Not ever live, because that does that. Jesus is that, but it's that I've personally met in person. Anyway,
Okay.
the person I love the most, the person that has poured into me the most, the rock of the family. The person that probably has sacrificed the most for the family and for the people that she knows. If you don't know who I'm talking about, well, you haven't met her then. Please, everyone, welcome my mother. If you don't clap while you're at home, that's very disrespectful.
Hi. You should do the round of applause.
Oh, no. I actually don't know which one it is. I would have done it, but I wouldn't have done it.
Hello, everyone.
Hello, mother.
Hello.
If you don't know her name, her name is Lordy.
Hi.
I just call her mother. She is the mother of myself and my brothers and sister, obviously.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Before we actually fully get into the episode,
Yep.
there's actually we have recorded before.
Yes, we have.
And in the first recording, she actually did something. So I'm gonna put that here, and then we'll snap back.
Now, I have something to give you.
I knew she was gonna be the one to do this.
Firstly, Sharpies.
Now the meme's ruined.
No, you said the next guest get Sharpies.
I know.
And I'm the next guest.
That's true. Thank you, mother.
Also,
Oh no.
I have something else to give you.
What the? Oh no. Oh no. If you haven't seen, we have mugs, and every week we have different mugs. So, what is this? Oh, what the heck? It's so cool. All right, so let me get it closer. I'm already showing. I'm sorry if you're audio listener, you have no idea what's going on, but pretty much she just got me a mug and Sharpies. All right, so we are back. As you can see in my hands, we have the mug, and yeah, it was very lovely. She also bought pens, which is very nice. So yeah, thank you, mother.
Welcome.
Before we get into your story, explain who you are, what you do, your life, your
Okay.
I don't know, anything that you want to share about yourself before we get into your actual testimony. It's
Okay.
very cold. I'm gonna close this.
As you know, my name is Lordy. I am the mother of 4, 1 girl and 3 boys. I am 53 years old. I used to work as patient transport officer. At the moment, I'm on work cover, and that's another story for another day. I've been off work for a while, and I'm married. I am a believer in Jesus. Anything else you want to know about me? There's not at the moment. There's not much like what I'm doing with my life right now. There's not much.
So yeah, she's. We already said this, but she's mother of me and my siblings. She has. If you ask any of us children, she's probably been the. What's the word? The rock. I said that already again, but the rock of the fam. And yeah, she's always the one that we go to.
Thanks.
So what? Actually, let's just get straight into your testimony.
Okay.
You can start from birth. You can start from teenagehood, adulthood, yesterday, tomorrow, whatever you like.
Okay. I came to know Jesus at the age of 25. I wasn't a believer until 25. So I wasn't I wasn't born into a Christian family, unlike most of the people that you've had on already. They were all born in a Christian family. They've all got similar testimonies. Mine's a little bit different, or maybe a lot different. So the way a little bit of a backstory. I am the youngest of 4 children. Pretty much the black sheep of the family, and that'll be stories to come along the way about how that came and what that meant. But being the youngest in the family, you would think that you'd be spoiled or loved or like felt something, like you felt a little bit special being the youngest or whatever. I didn't get that. The people that my parents put a lot of effort into were my older siblings. And when it came to me and my life, it's not that they weren't there, but they didn't invest as much time into my life as you think they should. I was pretty much raised by my grandmother because they were working, and that was fine because I loved her to pieces. But saying that, I didn't feel connected to them. I didn't feel loved. I felt like there was a lack of something.
Your family.
Yeah. Anyway, so 19 years later, I get married, and in my marriage, like from being 19, I mean, I'm with Simon, and things are good, but there was still something missing. I didn't know what it was. And something else, like backstory, something that when I was younger, I had this belief in my mind that I was going to go to heaven. That was it. Like, if anyone asked me, when you die, where are you going to go? It wasn't ever a question. Didn't know why.
Oh, just heaven.
Yeah. The answer was always heaven. And there was I had no idea why. And they were like, how can you be so confident? I go, well, I'm a good person. And I was, but I wasn't taught growing up about sins. I didn't know any of that. Like as Lebanese parents, they raised me to have some form of morals, but when it came to certain things, I was taught nothing of it, if not the opposite of what it should be. Like for example, adultery, that didn't faze them. Like it was nothing. Obviously, a man doing it, a woman, oh my goodness, it's shame. But it wasn't for a man. It was just nothing. Any sexual stuff or like any ethical things that a lot of people, especially believers, would look at and think that is an ethical problem or it's a morally wrong thing. I was never taught that it was wrong. And like, just, I don't know, like there's so many different things. And like I said, there was adultery. There was like no understanding of what it felt to be a sinner or to understand what that meant. So then like I get married and everything's good. 1995, I had a miscarriage, and I didn't.
So you had 2 children at this point.
I had 2 children. I had Roger and Jeanette, and then I had a third, and I had a miscarriage. And that miscarriage, there was complications. So with the complications after the miscarriage, I was like, I wanted 4 children, but I was like so upset because of the complications that I could never have any more kids. My doctor looked at me from across the room and he goes, wait until November. And I was like, oh, okay, whatever. Like, all right, whatever.
Wait until November for what?
To fall pregnant, to try again.
Mm.
Anyway, so along comes November 95, and 2 weeks into November, I find out that I'm pregnant.
Wow.
And it was just amazing. But during this time, something was happening to your dad, to Simon, and he was handed a Bible and he was reading the Bible constantly. Like we'd be watching TV and he'd be reading the Bible, or we'd be trying to have a conversation and he'd be reading the Bible. I didn't know what it was, but he was just so taken by this book. Now I know it's a Bible, but back then I'm like, I don't know what's happening to this man. I actually thought he was a bit crazy at the time. And he would ring his parents and he'd talk to them all the time about this Jesus and that they should know him. And I'm just like, what is he doing? Why is he doing what he's doing? And I'm just so confused by it all. And I was getting angry because like he's never spending time with us anymore. He was always on the phone with his parents, speaking about Jesus, reading the Bible. And even when we get in the car, there'd be, like back in the day, cassettes. But we'd be listening to cassettes and it'll be some music that I'd never know or never heard of. And then just one day I thought, you know what? If he's looking for something, if he's got something, let's just go to a church together. So
what was the music? Like Christian music?
Yeah. I didn't know what it was. I just knew it was foreign to me. So backstory. I was born in an Orthodox church. Simon was born in a Maronite church. We both basically were Christmas, Easter goers. Every now and then we'd go randomly. But there was something about Easter for me that was super special. I didn't know what it was. I didn't understand it. And I'd ask anybody that was willing to listen to me and answer the question, why was it called Good Friday if someone died? That I couldn't understand that. I couldn't fathom that concept. And it didn't make sense. And no one could answer it. They would all be like, oh, because it's a good day. I'm like, how is it a good day that someone died? Anyway, so back to now, 95. So I thought, you know what? Let's just go to the Maronite church. He's looking for something. We'd go in the evening because it's an English service. But we went there. I was just going stone cold. No idea what they were saying because a lot of it's in, I don't know if it's Aramaic or the singing or whatever language it was. And then he was like, I can't understand what they're saying. So they were going to, he was going to put $50,000 into fixing the sound system because he was thinking that was the problem.
So like he understood what they were saying, he just couldn't hear what they were saying.
Yeah.
Because of the sound system.
Yeah, because he was saying that and he wasn't getting what he needed.
At this time, by the way, my dad was a sound technician. Was he at this time? Or was
yeah.
He was a sound technician at this time. So he's
yeah, that was part of his life from way back when.
Probably was like fine, but he's just nitpicking everything.
Oh no.
Wasn't good?
No.
Okay.
So then I was like, the next week, I'm like, look, we did that. We went there a few times trying to get something. I go, look, you're not getting anything. I'm not understanding anything. How about we try and find a church that we can both get something out of? And he's like, fine. Like back in 95, guys, there were books called the Yellow Pages and the White Pages. You don't have them today. They used to be about that thick, each book. And there would be 2 white pages, 2 yellow pages, A to K, L to Z.
Do they not exist anymore?
Online. Don't know if they exist in person. Anyway, so I grabbed the yellow pages. We found the church section and we went through it. And I was like, he goes, no, I don't know what that means. I'm like, okay, what about the Baptist church? He goes, oh, no, they baptize people all the time. And then we got to the C's and he goes, I want something with Christ in it. That's it. I don't want any other words in it. I want something that just explains Jesus. I'm like, all right. So we find the Church of Christ. And then we ring Blacktown and their service had already started. So then the next one was Pendle Hill. So we go to Pendle Hill. The service is at 7. I think it was 6:30. We get ready. We go to this church at Pendle Hill. The minute I walk in, I don't know what happened. I cannot explain. Now I can. What was happening to me at that time, in that moment, I could not explain. I just started crying. The songs that they were playing were all about love. The sermon was about love. And I'm talking like old school, The Power of Your Love and
Awesome.
Jesus, Lover of My Soul. And it was just like, I did not know these songs, but I'm looking at them and they are just burnt in me. Like it was, did not understand it. And I believe it was that day that changed my life.
Why do you think it was, why do you think that like sort of stood out to you? Why?
As I'd mentioned with my family, I didn't feel loved. I didn't feel it prior to that moment. I did not feel loved or worthy to be loved the way I was. I wanted to be loved. I wanted to be loved by my parents. I wanted to be loved by my siblings. I know that Simone loved me, but I wanted to, like, there'd be moments when I didn't feel it. And God used love to bring me to him. I understand now, but back then, the idea of what it was just overwhelming. But it was overwhelming, but at the same time, it was right. And it just felt good. It felt like two worlds had finally joined together. This idea that I had when I was a kid of me being okay and going to heaven finally came together with the truth of it and the reality of it.
Right.
So that day was that day. And it was just like a wow day. Like it was something so special. Anyway, what they do at this church is they connect you with people, like a special person. And they have
like a mentor or something.
Yeah. They don't assign you with one, but they like to the first, second time you go there, they want to make sure that you have someone that you can look up to, especially being a new believer.
Yeah.
That you can have a Bible study with and, just connect with someone so you're not alone, which is great.
Yeah.
So shout out to Glennis Key because she was assigned to me. She was put into my life. And they gave her a study to do, which was Christianity Explained. And we started doing it. And I don't know how I knew all this stuff, but she'd ask me these questions and I'm like, yep, I know that. Never touched the Bible in my life, but it was just there. And she was like, listen, let's do something else. And I'm like, all right. We started off.
Was it, do you reckon it's because like the Easters and the Christmases that you went to? It doesn't make sense just for it to be there.
I don't know. I actually don't know, but the knowledge was there.
Maybe like school. I don't know.
No, I didn't go to scripture. I did. That's what I was saying. Like even the fact, the whole idea of me going to heaven and understanding what heaven was, I didn't know what that was. But I knew that Jesus died. I knew that he rose again. But something about Christianity Explained just was too simple for where I was at. But I can't explain it. And maybe if we can get Glennis on here, she might be able to explain it, because I can't. Yeah. I don't know. But all I do remember was that every question that she was asking from that book, I'm like, and I would answer them. So maybe I'd gotten the knowledge from Jesus, just, I don't know, because it was the other part of it that was important. Like, not that Christianity Explained isn't important, but the study that we had done, and it was called Firm Foundations, and it was from creation to Christ. And that's what I needed, because it gave me the understanding of the New Testament, the Old Testament to New Testament.
By the way, if Firm Foundations, if you have maybe like a young believer or someone that doesn't know like much yet, highly recommend it. If you want it, ask me. I have all the resources.
Yeah.
It's really good.
There is also one that they had done that was a short one, which was called The Road to Emmaus. And it was where the disciples start talking to each other, but then Jesus was there, and then he explains as he's walking. And there's this, the studies, Road to Emmaus is a shorter version of Firm Foundations. But it gave me such good grounding, and this 1 year study took Glennis and I 3 years. But what had happened in that 3 years was something that was, I'm going to say life-changing, but the life changed, the conversion happened on that night. But the growth that had happened and the things that I was holding on to I was able to let go of things with Glennis. Going back to a little bit, I haven't really spoken about my past in a sense.
Well, this is all your past, but I
no, but
yeah,
pre-conversion.
Yeah.
And I touched on the fact that the ethical and stuff, that at the age of 19, something big happened to me. And pre-marriage, even after marriage, I was generally like, I didn't see myself as I was a sinner in a sense, because I didn't really know what a sinner was. And I didn't do anything that was wrong. But when I was 19, I had done something, but had not affected me until I became a believer. And that sin that happened at the age of 19 was whole. As soon as I became a believer, the devil reminded me of that sin that I'd done at the age of 19. And I was holding on to that sin for a whole year.
Oh, wow.
And I couldn't forgive myself for it. It was something that affected me so much, more so as a believer than obviously when it happened, because I didn't think about it. But it was sort of like, how could you do something like this? And how do you think that the God that's love and the God that you serve, that a God that's just, can forgive you for doing something like that? And I was like, I don't know. How can he? how can I forgive myself? And I honestly could not forgive myself for a whole year until one day, and I don't know what had happened or how it happened, but God literally like slapped me and said, I have forgiven you from that sin. You now need to forgive yourself and you move on. And I was like, but God, and he's like, no buts. Because what's happening is you're not growing. You're holding on to that sin and you're not growing. And this is a thing for all of you, all of us believers, especially because the devil loves for us to hold on to sins that we think are not forgivable, but they are, because God has forgiven us already. It did, I promise you guys, it took me so long, like a whole year, to forgive myself for this thing that I thought nothing of it when it happened. So the devil loves to play these games. He loves to keep us bound to sins that, yes, don't get me wrong, we need to confess our sins. We need to forgive our sins, forgive ourselves for the sins that we've done. Because if we don't, I think that there is where the devil holds on and there's no growth.
Yeah, because we are forgiven, but we don't feel forgiven, which is like God has forgiven us already.
Yeah.
But it's like, I mean, if we don't repent firstly, like we're obviously not going to feel forgiven. But like even sometimes when we repent or whatever it is, like for you, that was years before, right? Then literally as soon as you became Christian, this thing came up or whatever. I don't know if it was as soon as you became a Christian, but whatever, something happened, it switched to you. The devil was like, hey, remember this thing that you did years ago? And then it was I don't know. It's funny how that works. Like you didn't think about it, you didn't care about, like,
no, not at all.
But yeah, it means we're doing something right, I think, when we're getting attacked, when we're getting, I don't know, like,
Yeah. Just something. You guys can come up to me one-on-one and ask me what it is. I may tell you or I may not tell you. And the only reason why I might not tell you and may tell you is just to glorify God, because otherwise there's no real reason for it to come up. So that was that. Also, something else, right? When looking back at what your dad was doing, the people that he wanted to tell about Jesus the most were his family. Same here. That's what I wanted to do. So, you wanted to tell your family, and my parents were overseas at the time. And I thought this is really good because that way I can build myself up with knowledge more, and the overflowing love that I had, not just for my parents, but my siblings and my uncles and aunties and anyone around me that I wanted to tell them about Jesus. The weirdest thing was that they rejected so hard that I was physically abused and mentally and emotionally abused by them. I was slapped. I was persecuted for telling them about who Jesus was. And it was sort of like, I was not expecting it to be, I was expecting a little bit of opposition, but the amount that I got, and it was from basically everybody around me. And it was sort of like, where do I go from here? And God just kept telling me, go back, tell them about me, go back, tell them. And I did it. And I was kept going. And because I have so many people that love me, they decided to tell my parents while I was overseas that I changed my religion. And when the day my mum came back, we thought, yes, I was so excited. I got her this massive poster with a picture frame with Corinthians First Corinthians 13, the love chapter, because I wanted to give them this love that I had. And my mum goes to me, I need to talk to you in my room. Okay. I want to talk to you too, because I want to tell you what happened. She goes, I know everything that happened to you. Why have you changed your religion? Why have you done this? What? And I'm like, what? I go, who told you? What are you talking? And it was just sort of like she didn't give me a chance to explain what had happened to me, because she had this preconceived idea of what she'd been told. And it was sort of like, just let me speak. And that was the first part of the persecution. Every time we would go there, and we would go there regularly and just want to talk to them regularly. And I just kept getting knocked down. Both of us, Simon and I, both kept getting knocked down, and then we'd just get up again, go back. And it was just like that for so long. But you know what? All for the glory of God. But they need prayer. They need prayer. 3 months later, we went to a church camp after I became a believer. I was pregnant when I became a believer. And we went to church camp. At that church camp, we were by a river, and I really wanted to get baptized at the river. But I wanted also to do it with your dad, because I felt like our coming to know Christ was the same time frame. But for some reason, he just stayed in the room the whole weekend, and he was just reading the Bible, reading the whole weekend, and learning and reading and reading. On the way back home, we were talking, and he goes, I wanted to get baptized in the river. And I go, so did I. So anyway, the following week, we spoke to them during that week and said, look, we want to get baptized. And it was the most incredible night, because they hadn't had a night baptism in like years. So, and the fact that we were doing it together was super special, and it was so nice. Also in this 3 months, we'd met people from Toongabbie Church. Shout out to Toongabbie, because we had a lot to do with them in my life. And some of them came to the baptism from Toongabbie, and it was just such a nice night.
Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah. It was really, really
That's
good.
really cool.
We good?
Yeah, we're good.
Do you have any more questions, or am I still?
No, keep going. You're spitting fire.
So we stayed at Church of Christ for a short time, because we'd found out about Toongabbie, and it was an Arabic speaking church. So we thought, okay, because we're Lebanese, but Simon's main language is Arabic. So it was better for him, and I could understand it, and it just worked that we would. And we were there for many years in my Christian walk, many years in my Christian walk. And so we left Pendle Hill Church of Christ, and then went to Toongabbie. And there's so many stories at Toongabbie, and they were just some good, some not so good. But I felt like God wanted us there, wanted us to grow. And something else for me, and this is something that coming from a Christian, an Orthodox background and Maronite, coming to know Jesus at the age of 25 and having such an overwhelming love, you wanted that from every Christian. And I came in with this very wild perception that all Christians are going to love you and all Christians are going to be, they're all just going to be loving each other. And technically we should. Technically we should. But we're still human. So I needed to be, God wanted to show me the reality of what that was. And there were a few people that were very abrupt in showing me that. And it wasn't the nicest thing. Certain things that would happen, I'm just like, why are you doing this? Like, what is the point of this? Like, what? Like, you need to love Jesus. We need to love each other. Why are you opposing this? And it wasn't nothing. It wasn't anything. It was just like, because I had kids. I had 2 kids, and they may have been making a bit of noise or something. That asked me to leave the church to take the kids outside, and I was like, but like, I want to learn. Like, what do you mean you're kicking me out of the church? But they weren't. But it was just there, like, they weren't doing it in a bad way, but they were just like, oh no, everyone needs to focus, and they can't because of the kids making noise. But as a new believer, you would want to love everybody the way you felt that love of that Christ, the love that Christ has given you. And it was just like a reality check that, hang on a second. They all love Christ, but each person's got their own walk, and they're not going to be the same walk. And it took a while for me to learn that and understand that and also accept it, because I'm like, we need to be Christ-like. Why aren't they? So I basically put everybody up on this pedestal, and God showed me. He made that crumble very quickly, because you shouldn't put anyone up on a pedestal, even if they're Christians.
Yeah, I think understanding that people are flawed. Even like, I mean, I was having this conversation today actually. Like when Christians seem perfect, we always just have to assume that, not assume, we know they're not. Like, people that are serving, or people that are up on the stage, or people that seem like they've got it all together, they might have it better than us. Like, they might be a bit more switched on and on whatever. Their head's a bit screwed on a bit more, but they're still struggling with a lot. Like, they're still sinning. They're still whatever it is. Yeah, it's. I think when you don't understand that, it's hard, because you're like, man, like I suck or whatever. Like, I'm like, I don't know. Like, I'm not as good as I need to be, and I don't see myself ever being that perfect. But just understand that whenever you see someone like that seems perfect, or then it's, I don't think, usually they don't do it on purpose. They're just living. But sometimes it seems like, wow, they are perfect, but they're not. They are broken. Christ died for their sins, so which means they have sins. Like, so,
yeah. But no, I understand where you're coming from, because there are a lot of people that have it all together, but even those, we shouldn't be putting it up on pedestals. I'm talking about your average Joe Blow. In my mind, I'm thinking every person should be showing the love of Christ, which it's not wrong.
Everyone should, yeah.
It's not wrong.
You expected everyone to do it.
The expectation was there.
Yeah.
And you can't have that expectation, because the way I came to know Jesus was the fact that he loved me so much that he poured that onto me from that moment. Others don't come to know that, like, their love for Jesus grows over time, or like, I don't know. But for me, it was an instant, wow, I've never felt this much love. I want to give this love to everybody around me.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not fair me keeping this love to myself. That was my mentality when I first became a believer.
Yeah.
So, and then when I was going, and the thing was, when your father and I, we were both so hungry for the word or fellowship, or just whenever there was an event or whatever it was, we'd be there. First people, we'd go like nearly every night there'd be something on, or every weekend there'd be something on, and we would be there. And it didn't matter who it was or what it was or whatever, we were there.
Mm.
And a lot of it was like Arabic speakers coming from overseas, and like we'd go and even through that, it was like me learning lessons about the people around me because of that expectation. And it was hard. It was really, really hard because I've got two different worlds, right? I've got my family that is opposing everything that I'm telling them about Jesus.
Mm.
And then you've got the Christian people that are in my life that should be, the expectation for me was that they should be the way I am, but they weren't. So I'm like, I'm lost. I'm like, I can't go there because I don't want to go back to that.
Mm.
And I know I'm with these people, with the Christians, but why are they like that? It was a battle. And this is something that we worked on with Glennis. And it was sort of like she brought me to the reality of my expectations, that they are people and my expectations shouldn't be that high, and that they do love Jesus. And yes, I'm with this family because my Christian family is everything to me. And we need to love them regardless of what they're bringing to the table.
Mm.
And that's something that I had learned, and it was a hard lesson because there was also a little bit of physical abuse.
Just drop that on us. What's interesting is you're a new believer, and you said all you wanted to do was just literally like overflow with the love that was in you.
Yeah.
It was overflowing.
Yeah.
It makes me like sort of self-reflect on like, that's a new believer, and that's how all believers should be, right?
Mm.
But what makes us lose that? Because I do love God and I want to overflow his love to everyone, but you said like, I wasn't there obviously, but you and Dad were doing that actively, overflowing God's love wherever you went, everything you did, whatever, because I was like, it was fresh. I don't know, like, what, I'm not saying you're not doing it now, but what changes in Christian's life to actually not do that, or not do it as much? Because now we're just in a comfortable state where
You said it. You exactly said it. It's because we get comfortable.
Mm.
Where when we first became believers, like there was my family and then Simon's cousins. And these two people, we just wanted, like there was a harvest, you could say, and the work was there. And I think your question, the closer you are to God, is the more overflowing and the more work you would want to do for God.
Mm.
And something else, and this is where I was saying that I had the two oppositions, was because we were so close to God and we were doing his work, we were getting opposed and attacked so much. Like so much. The day of my baptism, the next day, I get a phone call from my mum. And, I'm like so excited because I'm on this high, spiritual high, and I just get knocked down. And the words that she was saying, I was like, please stop saying this, because it wasn't not about me. It wasn't nice for her. And I was just like, no, like, what are you doing?
Mm.
And I was just getting attacked so much. And it didn't stop us. It didn't stop me from getting back up there and talking to whoever would listen to me because of the closeness I had with God. I'd still do it now, but like it's just not as much. And I think it was the fact that we were both so active in the roles. Like we would go to his cousin's house and there would be some times when we were at the cousins and I would be sitting there and there would be like 10, 15 boys around me and I'd be talking to them about Jesus and they'd be asking questions, active, like crazy questions. And I didn't have all the answers, but there were words that were coming out of my mouth that I didn't know what was happening. And I was just like, okay, God, you've got the wheel. Just do what you wanted. And it was constantly like that. And like there was one weekend where we were there like from Thursday and then on the Sunday we were like, no, we're not going to go there. And I said to your dad and I go, no, we need to go there. And he's like, we've been there all week or like all weekend. And I'm like, I know, but we need to be there. I don't know what it is, but we need to go. And he's like, all right. So we went. The house was packed. It was so, I don't know how many people were in this house, but there were over 30 people in this house because your dad had the parents and the older generation sitting at the back and they were having a crazy discussion about Jesus. And I had literally about 15 boys in the front having a discussion about Jesus. And it was all about like heaven and hell and what, like they were asking questions about what Jesus did and all these other. And there are a few of the boys that have come to know Jesus through all of that. So it was just, I think, like I said, the closer you are to God, the more work you will do for God. And just be faithful because God can use you. And I think it's something that scares us a lot as people is rejection. And what I've learned from when I first became a believer was that I was getting rejected, but I didn't care. So if we don't care about the rejection, we're going to do God's work. And I think that's important because I wasn't thinking about the rejection because I think in hindsight, looking at all of it, there were more rejections than there were acceptance. So if I was just to think, oh no, I need to work on the people that are accepting, then it's sort of like, what am I doing? But it didn't bother us, either Simon and I or I. It did not bother us at all, the rejections. It's sad because people have obviously rejected and it's on them. But
I like how you said before that it's the closer you are with God, then you're gonna naturally like everything you speak is gonna be Christ or it's gonna be Bible or whatever it is. It's interesting. I was thinking like, what's an analogy? There's two analogies, but they're the opposites at the same time. Like water and fire, you can use either analogy. So you can either be like, so as believers, we pour into others, or we pour into others what God has given us, but we actually need to receive the water from God. So we need to be poured into by God's word, by God himself and stuff. But sometimes we pour into others without being poured into, without reading God's word and whatnot. So then we completely dry. We get, I don't know, whatever.
Yeah.
Or with the fire, we need to ignite this fire. We need to make it bigger in us, in our hearts, ignite the fire. And by that, how we do that is going to God's word, going to God, seeing how to do that. But then if we're using our fire for other people and we're not receiving, like if he's not quenching the fire, then we're going to be burnt out. Like say it's cool. I think that every answer that we have as believers is always the same. I think
Yeah,
literally always the
it
same.
is, because like if you're not, okay, let's look at it from just a human perspective. If you're in a relationship with someone, right, and if you're not communicating and if you're not close to that person, how are you going to grow with that person?
Yeah.
And it's the exact same thing with God. If you're not close to God, how are you expecting to grow?
Mm.
How are you expecting to do anything if you're not close to that, if you're not close to God?
Look, I want to encourage everyone that's watching, and you and myself, that no matter whatever we're going through, whatever you guys are going through, whatever anyone is going through, and you don't know what to do, or you don't have the answers, whatever. The best thing for me, and I believe for most, if not all, believers, have been to spend time with God. And sometimes it doesn't have to be for the longest time. Maybe it's just like 5 minutes. If it's genuine, I'm telling you, you're gonna get maybe not the answers, but you're gonna get some sort of like peace or understanding or whatever it is. You're gonna receive it. Sometimes I'll literally read God's word. I'll pray. I have no idea what I just read. I have no idea what I read or whatever. But like sometimes even just spending time with God, even though I'm not really understanding what He, like, I don't know. Sometimes I read the Bible, I don't actually get something out of it, but it's just being in that presence of God, I guess, is calming enough, and it sets the whole day purposefully.
Yeah.
Obviously, we want to receive from God and His Word, but sometimes we don't. Sometimes we're tired. Sometimes we're
Yeah.
just a bit out of it. Maybe our mind is everywhere, but that's when we have to go to God. Most importantly. Yeah. Was there anything on your story that you wanted to continue on? Oh, I have questions. Like I have other things.
Yeah, go. I like, I do have stories like today, but ask questions. Ask me questions.
I have topics that we like, completely different topics that we can talk
Okay.
about.
Just God would do things in my life, and I would say they're miraculous things, but I feel like that's potentially another time. But there's this one particular thing that I wanted to share this time. And I was at work. I used to do self-serve at Woolies of a nighttime. And pretty much everybody knew that I was a believer there. I would not be shy in talking about Jesus to anybody at all. And I would talk to them constantly, and it wouldn't bother me. But there was this one period where I'd sort of had enough. And it wasn't that I'd had enough from God, but I was just like to God, I don't want to read the Bible anymore. And I don't want to talk about you anymore. I just don't want it. And I'm not exactly sure why I'm bringing this up, but I think maybe someone needs to hear this. And I was literally just saying, God, no. It's not that I don't want you in my life, but I don't want you in my life right now. I don't want it. Nope. That's it. Done, dusted. I don't want it. Anyway, so I go to work, and that was my mindset. My mindset was, that's it. God, I'm putting God over there, which is really stupid, but that's what I was doing.
Yeah.
Anyway, so I get to work, and this security guard, Sikh, he's a Sikh, and he goes to me, can you tell me about your God? And I went, no. And he's like, no, I know that you have a relation, you have God. Tell me about him. And I was like, no. I was determined that I didn't want to. And he goes, but I need a Bible. Please, and I know that you can get me a Bible. And I just look up and I said, God, I told you I don't want to do this. Anyway, so that was the first night. Second night, I went back to work. Same guy. He goes, did you get me the Bible? I'm like, oh my goodness. So, guys, it doesn't matter where you think you put God, God is there and wants you to do work for him. It doesn't matter what state of mind you're in or why you're doing what you're doing. God is there and he will always win because he does. I gave in. And there are other stories that I will get to that you just give in. You literally give in.
I think that so I had lunch with Fadi, Bashar, and Yusuf today. And something that we were saying, we were talking about like doing things, and a lot of the times, I think society and everything. This is what Fadi said, so I'm not claiming it. But society has built a setting for us to learn, so we study first, and then we actually do. But it's actually not like that in the Bible. It's do, and God will guide you, and He'll show you how to do it, what you need to do, and I think that works better. Like, I don't know, that's why I don't study, but
That's no excuse.
But it's sort of like that story is like just that you just like just do it. Sometimes like you don't need to know. Oh, like even with your what's it called, the cousins or dad's cousin, you didn't know what you were saying. You just did it.
Yeah.
And
a lot of the times when I first became a believer, it was literally just us doing. We didn't yes, I was learning and I was learning the firm foundations and all of going through the Bible study and I was reading all of that. But in actual fairness, looking back at it, I had no idea.
Yeah.
No idea. And it was sort of like, oh my goodness, like what was it was God. The whole thing was God. Actually, something that came to my mind and I wanted to share this. And it's a little bit of going backwards. But I feel like it's just
shift the mic a bit.
I feel like it's in my face, but anyway. It's just something that happened that I feel like I want to mention.
Yeah.
Okay. So I wasn't a believer before we got married, and I used to work in an electrical company, and there were like so many. So there was majority of them were guys, and there was about 3 of us, 3 girls. Anyway, there was this old elderly gentleman that was retiring, and the whole time that he was there, that I was there with him, and I was there for a few years, this man would not stop talking about Jesus. I didn't know what he was on about. No clue whatsoever what he was on about. Anyway, when he was retiring, I knew that I had to buy him a Bible. And I searched everywhere to find him a gold leaf Bible. Like the gold on the outside. You can find them everywhere.
I don't know what that is, but yeah.
It's the Bible, but it's got like really thin paper and it's got gold trim on the paper. Just wanted a really nice Bible for him. No idea. No clue. So I give him, we put money in. I finally buy him the Bible. I got a nice inscription for him. I give him this Bible. He's so overwhelmed. He gives me his Bible. For the life of me, I don't know where this Bible is. And it's upset me so much. When I became a believer, I was like, oh, he gave me his Bible. So God was working then. Yeah. I did not know. But all I remember was it was so old and he'd written so many notes in it and he'd written like it was just colourful because he'd highlighted everything. So it was just like God was working. And then Simon and I on our honeymoon, they had the Bible, the Gideon Bibles back in the day. They could put them in hotel rooms and in boat, like they had them in the boats. It was just the Bible, not sure what it was. We took the Bible up to the top level of the boat and, okay, we're not meant to do this, but we didn't know. We put our hands on it and we prayed that we're not going to let anyone interfere in our life and that whoever he was going to be part of our life. How? because God knows. And it was. And it's been like that. We came back and we had realized that my mum had rearranged my unit. So, and we knew that we had to sort of stand firm, not knowing who God was or what anything of that. But God knew that we were part of him. And looking back at my life, I can see God's fingerprints.
Can't wait for it to all come back around. And your family have the same response.
I hope so.
They're gonna see one day. They're gonna be like, "Wow, Lottie and Simon and whoever else there was in their life." It's gonna be crazy.
Well, I found out that two people that I love and adore are with Jesus. First was my grandfather. He was very sick when we first got married. He was very sick when we got married. And
that's fine. First got married.
I don't know. And he waited for me to get back from my honeymoon and passed away 2 weeks later. And it was the hardest thing for me. I loved him. Funny story about him. When I was a little girl, he always used to give me pocket money all the time. And this one particular time, he was in the area. He used to do gardening. And everyone knew him. And he would wear the MC Hammer pants, the Sherwell, and old school, back in, he's in the village. He used to go around fixing all the gardens in the area. And he'd be holding tools and everything else. Anyway, he realized that he hadn't given me pocket money the night before. So this particular morning, he comes into the school because it's on his way from my uncle's to our house. It's through our school. And he's wielding an axe. And he's wielding the axe and he's going, "Lottie! Lottie!" So the school goes into Operation Save Lottie, and they drag me out of classroom. They lock me up in the principal's office. And I'm like, "What is wrong? What's going on?" And they're going, "There's a man out here with an axe yelling your name." And I was like, "An old man?" And they were like, "Yes." "Do you know him?" And I go, "He's my grandfather." Anyway, so I went out and he goes, "I forgot to give you money." So all of that kerfuffle for 20 cents.
Okay.
Anyway, I found out not long ago that a couple of people that we know had actually come to speak to him on his deathbed, and he gave his life to the Lord.
Oh, wow.
Yeah,
Cool.
So that was so great. And the other one was my auntie. And we had a part to play in her life. So, it hasn't been long since she's passed away. And I was able to have some time with talking to her but also praying for her and with her. But I found out after she'd passed away by signs that God allowed me to have that comfort.
That's cool. What was the science? Or do you not want to share?
Oh no, that's fine. I asked God because I didn't see her just before she passed away. But I asked God, please give me something so I can feel comforted, because she was someone that I loved dearly. I'd say she was my favorite in the house. We used to be in the same. We used to sleep in the same room, so we were so good. We were so good together. I loved her so much. So I wanted a sign just to have comfort and something from God. And it was when my uncle's the last person to see her. He said to me that he'd said to her, "I'll see you tomorrow." And she was like, "No, I'm going home." And that to me, no one else is going to say that. And then another thing was when we saw her in the viewing, she had such a peace about her. She was just, it was peace. And I'm standing over the coffin, and I remember this day so well. And it was just like she had such peace about her that I was smiling. And your dad comes up to me and he goes, "You're smiling. Stop smiling. You're not meant to be smiling over a dead person." And I just looked at him and I said, "Look at her face. She looks so peaceful." I go, "Simone, she's with Jesus. Look at her face." And it was just the best thing ever, because what else do we want as Christians? That's what we want.
Yeah, it's really cool. But yeah, I don't know. If you're watching this, I'm gonna say pray for my mother's family.
Yeah.
Pray for the people that that aren't believers. Yeah, because there's nothing more important than Christ in our lives, and I'm sure you know that. So, I mean, you get that that fire back that you had for sharing the gospel, or I don't know, I don't know how, like, you know what I'm trying to say?
Yeah.
Like, get that back. Spend time with God. Pray. Pray is the major thing. Prayer, reading the Bible is a major thing. But yeah, pray for your people that you know that don't know Christ, and I'm sure you'll see answers. You'll see results. You'll see certain outcomes and stuff like that. Yeah.
I think prayer is very important. Constantly talking to God.
Yeah.
I think God listens. God listens and he talks to people. He's there. So, yeah. You said you had some questions.
Yeah, so I was thinking, is this your story or what you want to share today? I'm sure we'll have you on again to share other things and more things.
Yeah.
But for now, is that all you want to share about the other things, or before we move on?
I think that's all right. Yeah.
I wanted to touch on a topic that you would hopefully know a bit about.
Sure.
That's parenting. You have 4 children, 3 good children.
Rude. I have 4
name
good
who's
children. I've got 4 good children and 2 children to be, in-laws.
children to be. I don't know what that means.
Guys, I've
She's
had
having
actually something that I haven't said yet. I've had 7 pregnancies.
yeah, she has
So
crazy.
yeah.
And 4 children.
And 4 children. So 3 are in heaven.
Yeah. Well, that's a theological topic for another day. Just kidding.
Fair enough. I don't know what that means, but all right. Okay, a parenting question. Go.
No, so recently, I think I told you this, but recently I had someone come up to me, and it was the nicest thing possible, but they're just like, I won't say who or like why they came up to me, but they just been like, that Jonah, like, we respect who you are, and I respect that, like, the man you've become. You're so young, but you have a zeal, whatever. I don't know what he said exactly, but I felt extremely loved and encouraged. And then he's like, "What was it in your childhood, or what was it?" And I was like, "I don't know." So you have to ask my parents. So I'm gonna ask you. With raising 4 children, 4 decent, adequate children, what is the key, I guess, to parenting, or what advice, or what sort of, I don't know, what do you think you did well? What did you think you didn't do well? Like, well, yeah, I don't know.
Okay. I could answer this question very easily. Well, not easily. It's complicated. But I can answer this question because okay, with being a parent, especially a believing parent, I think the first thing that we need to do for our kids is to show them Christ's love. And that's not through Bible bashing them, but it's just showing them that they can fall and they can sin, but we still love them regardless. And something else that's super important, and that's what I was going to say earlier, is that opening up to your kids about your sins and how your sins are forgiven. And that 1 year that I had, all my kids know about it, because I think it is super important to be open with your kids about your sins and how God has worked in your life so they can witness it and that they can see it. Because I think being open helps your kids to be open with you. And I just think as a parent as well, I feel like not being scared of things that your kids are going to throw at you, and never show them that you are overwhelmed by what they're telling you. Once that's done and dusted, you can go into your room and scream and shout and just have a meltdown. But during the time that they're telling you, because they'll never tell you again. So just an example, like if one of your kids comes up to you and says, I've done X, Y, Z, and you're like, oh, why would your kid come and talk to you again? But if your kid comes up to you and says, I've done X, Y, Z, and you say, oh, okay, that's fine, let's talk about it. The difference is your kid's going to talk about it.
I want to know what I've done that made you feel like that.
It's not one particular thing. It's just everything.
Yeah.
Like I said to you earlier, like I said to you guys earlier, when I grew up, I was raised with morals, but I was also raised with shame in a sense where sexual stuff is shameful and certain relationships are shameful. And this, like so many things are shameful for especially a girl. And I was like, when I grew up and like became an adult myself and a parent, I was like, that mentality is so wrong. That mentality is so wrong. Yeah, don't get me wrong. There are things that are shameful, but do we put that onto our children so they can live with that shame constantly? Or do we discuss the shame? Like, I don't think there's been a time where in my family, in my immediate family, me and my children, have been shy about talking about sexual stuff. I've never had that. I don't ever want that because I think that's very important. I'm not talking about the details. I'm just making like they know that it is okay to talk to me about this thing.
Yeah.
And something else that I've witnessed so many Christian parents do is that when their kids do something that they don't like and it's wrong, they bring out the Bible and throw Bible verses at them. So they're using the Bible as fear, where I never did that. I did the opposite. If any one of my kids had done something that was not right, I would love them. I would care for them in that moment and do whatever it took. And then later on, when they're out of that, would have the discussions of whatever needed to be had. But never in that time. Just say, for instance, someone had gotten, I don't know, was out late. Yes, I'd get angry if they didn't call me or they didn't message me. But that was just an example. It was be like, okay, why are you like this? I might be angry in that.
You like this?
No, I might be angry in the moment, but later on I'd be like, listen, this is the reason why I'm angry. Because if you're not going to tell me that you're late, or like this, late is just the simplest of examples, by the way. Yeah. If you're not going to tell me, then where's the communication? We've always had communication. So I don't know whether I've answered your question.
I think so.
Yeah. I think
Just being approachable.
be approachable and be
honest.
open and honest with your kids. Because I feel like if you're not, they're not. And if you feel shame, they're going to feel shame. So we live in a world where we need to protect our kids. Don't get me wrong. We definitely need to protect our kids from everything that's out there. But when it comes to ourselves, and I know for a fact that God made our bodies not to be shameful, because he made Adam and Eve naked, for goodness sake. Yeah. So he made us not to be that. It was the sin that's caused us to feel this shame.
Yeah.
So we need to not live in shame, because if we do, then we're not living for God, because God doesn't want us to live in shame. And if we're going to teach our kids to be shameful, then we're not teaching them how to live for God.
Yeah.
And I said this to a parent recently, actually. And this is a lesson that I learned, and this is a story for another day, but just this short snippet. And that is, Christ starts at home, okay? But church is very important. And parents, you need to find a church. The church might not be good for you, but if it's good for your children and they've got a good network of friends, it is super important.
I agree.
Because if they don't have a network of friends that are Christians, they're going to seek their friends outside of the church, and that's where you're going to have another set of problems. I was very grateful in that, even though there was a short stint where we were going to a church and you kids were making friends, but not the right friends.
It wasn't, I don't think, it wasn't a matter of the right friends. You just wanted, I don't know, we just weren't.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's a story for another day.
Yeah.
But I think that is super important, that you keep them in that. And open your house, guys, parents, open your house for your kids to be there. Because if they are in your house, they aren't out in the world. So let your kids' friends come to your house. And I'm talking about all of you, not just one family. If every family can open their house, I don't think there'd be a Christian that would go astray.
What about, you used to let me go to other people's houses and used to let me go out and stuff. So what, I'll let you finish drinking, but what, well, you say open your house, but why would you let me go to other people's house? You didn't know what I was doing at their house and what? You know what I'm trying to ask?
Parents should know the friends of their kids.
Okay.
And I think that is super important, because if you do not know your kids' friends, and I'm not just talking about knowing names, I'm talking about sitting down with the friends, having conversations.
The friends' parents, right?
No, not necessarily, no.
Even their friends. How young are you speaking?
Okay. Why? Not why, but I had a lot of people, your friends, your siblings and friends come over. Did you not ever notice me sitting with them? It's for me to get to know them and understand where they're coming from, right?
Yeah.
And being able, because then they would also realize, oh, hang on, she's cool, we can talk to her. So they would start talking to me.
She's scary.
And I was scary, mate. I was scary. But I could talk to them. I could talk to them. Don't step on my floor, Matthew. I had relationships with your friends. And I think that's important. And that's how you going to their houses, I would feel comfortable. And most of the time I'd know the parents. But even if I didn't know the parent, to say it was a school parent that I'd met once or twice, but it would never be I would always, as soon as you'd get back home, there'd be questions. And it's not like interrogation. It's just like, okay, how do you feel about going to this house or whatever?
Mm.
And I think that's important, that you know the kids properly, like have conversations with them, and also know the parents.
Right. So approachable, open, hospitable.
Mm.
Nice. What about, you don't have to answer this, but things that you think you got wrong or you didn't do as well as you think? He's like, nothing.
Mate, I'm perfect.
I can tell from my brain. It has to be something wrong.
Mate, look, that's a very hard question. Ask it again.
What are some things that you maybe you look back, you're like, I could have done that better? It's not like dire, but like you could have done better, or you maybe you could have done in general, or you shouldn't have done, or like not specific scenarios, but like if you can think of anything. It's a bit of a
it's
a tough question.
No, like obviously we always can look back and think, oh, I could have done that better.
Yeah.
But something that I have lived by, and I know a lot of people are going to jump down my throat saying this, and that's not regretting things. They're done and dusted. Like they're done. I definitely got things wrong. But they're done.
Yeah.
So there's no regret. But not even even that.
I'll say, because I've said this in a podcast before, so I'm going to say it to you again. I believe in regrets. I don't believe in living in regrets. You should always have regrets, because if you don't have regrets, you're not going to learn. But living in regret is not what you want to do.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, just to clarify.
Yeah, well, you can believe that. Anyway.
Well, you don't believe that?
Look, no, you do, but it's more living in the regret, because if you're living in the regret, you're living in the sin and you're living in that past. And I don't think that's where God wants us. Something that I would change if I could, and I'm trying now to do it. And I don't know if I should say.
I can cut it out. Just say, I want to know. Just cut it. I'll cut it out.
And it's about the relationships.
Okay.
And it's sort of like,
right, yeah.
Yeah, I don't know if I should.
No, like, look, it will come up in the future.
Yeah, leave it for another day.
Okay.
Leave it for another day.
Sorry, guys. She baited you. Just just try and make make sure you're approachable, you're open, you're hospitable, and the relationships in your household are good. Yeah. Like, not just your relationship with people individually, but everyone together. Yeah. Yeah. It's a good way.
Look, something else.
Just hit the mic.
For the parents, you were a teenager. Think about what you were doing. Not that your kids are going to do it, but know the signs that if there is a problem, then address it straight away as well. I know a lot of parents say that, but always address it not in an attacking way, but more, and never in the moment, never in that specific moment. So just say you think your kid is on drugs, let's say, for instance. None of mine were, by the way, just disclosure.
That she knows of.
That's true. Shut your mouth. Anyway, you probably see it that they could have tried it or whatever, and you know then and there that there's that possibility. You're going to be angry in that moment talking to your child about that. So don't do it then. Talk to them about it later. Address whatever they're going through that time. When they tried it, they could be sick, they could be whatever it is dealing with these things. But always make it known to them. And again, I'll go back to the shame thing. you don't want them to feel ashamed about it because it's so in their face that they think it's there, it's normal. But you just, yeah. So talk to them in a loving way, but not in that moment because you're angry.
Mm. I think I have one more question on parenting, and then we'll probably end.
Okay.
This is. I just wanted to know this. I don't know if they will care about this, but do you have regrets in? Oh, you just said you don't have regrets, but you know what I mean. Do you have like regrets? Like, let's say, for instance, me and my football. You put a lot of money into my football, like my academy, the academy I went to, the training, all that stuff. Do you have regrets in doing that? Because
No.
it's a lot of money. And why don't you?
We spend a lot of good time together.
I was not expecting the result of that answer.
Yeah.
That's cool. Like, drop me to training. I literally used to train Monday to Friday.
We spent a lot
I wasn't driving at the time, so.
We spent a lot of good times together.
And then I played again on Saturday. So.
Yeah. And that was and that's something else, actually.
Be involved in your kids' lives.
That's something else. I made it a fact, a matter of a fact, to have individual times with every single one of you kids. And it was, I tried to work out what each one would actually like and tried my best to accommodate for that. And I would have one-on-one time with you guys. And you more than all of them because you drive you every day to football. But it was so good.
Yeah.
It was really, really good. And like 90% of the times he didn't talk. But then when he did, he did.
No, when I spoke,
I
would quiz you about football.
Yeah, and we'd actually play games. It was so much fun. And it wasn't like, no regrets.
That's cool.
I would have liked it if you practiced more. But there was more. Like at home or, there's something.
There was like a 2-year period where okay, sorry, I'm going to rant a little bit. I trained in the morning, trained in the afternoon, went to training that night. The first 2 trainings were by myself, trained that night with my team or the academy every day. Didn't train enough.
Anyway. Yeah, no, but I think...
actually didn't train enough. That's a sad thing, but yeah. My training didn't help.
Anyway, no, I loved it. I actually loved it.
That's cool. Apart from when
I still go to your games now.
Apart from when Roger played cricket.
Oh no, that was that was the only time. That was the only time that I ever dropped a kid off somewhere and not stayed to watch something. Like when he played soccer for a little bit, like football. He did, not me.
So, yeah, that's right.
And like Jeanette would do dancing and netball and like me taking Roger to play saxophone. I was there the whole time. He decided to play cricket for 1 year. Oh my goodness, I wanted to.
Anthony played maths. I'm just raising my family now.
That's another story. But no, like I dropped him off. There was, I think, one time where I stayed, but that was because it was a destination. Like we had to go somewhere. And I walked around. I did not watch the game. I cannot do cricket. I don't know how to, I do not know. I do not like the sport. And the funny thing was, he got a medal for participation.
Oh, good.
No. And then the next year, I was like, I was holding on to my gut thinking, please say no, please. I said, Roger, did you want another season? No. I'm like, thank you.
Yeah, like, I can't do it.
Yeah.
So, yeah, okay. So, approachable, open, hospitable.
One-on-one time is important.
In there, be involved, be there.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's it's pretty cool. To be honest, I was expecting your answer to be like, I was expecting you to say you don't have regret on it, but because it put me in like situations where I had to get more confidence and stuff like that, like you were talking about, you know what I'm saying? Like training and stuff.
Oh yeah, that's on you, not me.
That showed me commitment. That made me committed to something. Made me like loyal. and it gave me a lot of confidence. Without football, I don't know if I would have like. I'm still not very confident, but with the confidence that I have and whatnot, because I was very. You remember?
Yeah.
I was a very like shy and um, yeah, just a weird kid. We're still weird, but still a bit shy. But just less of.
Yeah, no. Like any time that I was able to spend time with you kids one-on-one, I'd take it.
Yeah, cool.
And even from like a really young age, I would go on little coffee dates and like I said, each one had something. So
I think that's good. All right, I'm gonna ask this question to Mother. If there was any advice or something that you'd want the people to take out of this podcast, what would it be?
of mine?
Huh?
Of mine?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. But before you answer that, start thinking about it.
I know what to say.
Yeah, sure knows. We have a Polaroid. We're not taking a Polaroid today because in the episode that we recorded, we already had a Polaroid. So I'm gonna put that clip in now. Do you want flash on or off? I feel like this is gonna be the worst photo yet. Mum is so bad with the camera, but
very much. Can I do it this way?
No. You have to be in it.
Where's the flash?
Do you want flash on it?
Yeah, I think. Is it light enough?
Look, you can look at the photos, but flash usually works out better.
Well, flash.
All right, and then the camera is just the red button at the front.
Can I sit on your lap?
If you want. Come. Okay.
Oh, do you want to sit on my lap?
I don't think that's gonna work. What's happening right now? Okay. Oh, okay. Oh, this is so weird. Okay.
My fingers are not gonna work.
People are like, you're blocking the camera. Is that good? It's okay. Go.
Which one am I blocking?
It's very interesting.
Anyway,
What should be the worst photo?
it'd probably be the best photo.
Into the cupboard it goes. Yeah. What does it say, Mother?
I'm the best.
Love you, Jonah. How good. That's a very cute photo. And now we're back. So
Hello.
yeah, we'll go back to Mum's.
I think you should do the outro. You should go from the Polaroid to what? Because I'm going to say the exact same thing, but I think it was better the first time.
You haven't said it yet, so go on.
Okay. If you were to take anything out of what I said today, and I'm like, you should take everything of what I said because everything what I said is gold. But if you were to take one thing out of what I said today, is do not hold on to your sin. Let it go and forgive yourself, because no matter how bad the sin, God has forgiven you. And if God's forgiven you, who are you not to forgive yourself? Because if you don't forgive yourself, you're not going to grow.
Don't let your sin hold a weight on you.
Yeah.
Because I was saying this to Mum before. I was like, we allow sin to hold so much weight in our lives, and we know that like it is very serious. The seriousness of sin is dire because it literally goes to death. That is the consequence of sin. But our sin has been taken away from us.
As soon as you become a believer,
don't allow it to hold that much weight. Because once we start doing that, we start carrying it everywhere we go. We start carrying all like the sins, the burdens. You don't carry your sin. You carry the cross.
oh wow!
Sorry, I'm holding this by the way. Yeah.
I like that though. He's right. Don't carry the sin, carry the cross.
Yeah. Yeah. Thanks.
But I also think my parenting advice is very, very good. I'm very humble.
It's the humility.
I'm very humble.
All right. Would you like to do the outro?
Sure.
Whatever you take it away.
Okay. All of you lovely watchers out there.
Watchers, they're not watchers, they were people.
People. Rude. All of you people out there. Subscribe, like, follow, share, because we want to get this young gentleman here, Jonah on the pod, wherever it is, to 100 subscribers. Let's do it.
I don't even know how much we're on that. I think we're on like 52.
56.
56. Oh, you
Yes, I saw it the other day.
Oh, good.
So come on, we've only got a few more to 100. We can go even more than 100. We can go over that. I have faith. God is going to do miracles in this podcast. So let's do it.
You heard the woman. Thank you, Lordy. Thank you, Mother. Yes.
Thank you for having me.
Oh, anytime. I'm sure we'll hear more of you and we'll see more of you. If you guys have any what's it called? Suggestions on the background, because it's a bit bland at the moment. But I mean, I love the Polaroids. But if you like, there's a whole wall over there that's empty. There's like this part. We can cover this part. Ouch. Yeah, if you have any suggestions, if you want to come on, if you have anyone that you want to come on, then yeah, please feel free to ask me, message me. Please be praying for those that aren't saved.
Yeah.
Pray for the family of my mother.
Yeah.
And yeah, thank you for watching.
I'll be back.
She'll be back. All right. And peace.
Bye.